Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the December 9th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Chatham Select Board. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, including the use of AI note-taking apps, please notify the chair. Anybody in the room or online? I thought we had someone that was using AI.
There is, I don't know, Stephen Buckley.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I can, yes. Is that you, Stephen?
Yes, Steve Buckley. I'm experimenting with a new note taker recording.
This is AI? Is this an AI technology?
It is technology.
Yeah, so we need to, I'm not opposed to you doing that in general, but I think we need to confirm with our technology people whether the particular device that you have or system you have is not malicious. Some of them are, and we haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. So I'm just going to ask you, Stephen, if you wouldn't mind not doing that tonight, but at future meetings, hopefully you can do that. I just wanted to ask you.
Well, yes, and I think that on that note, I will do that. And on that note, I would ask that instead of me waiting for agenda requests, that be an agenda request about the policy concerning AI note-taking.
You're going to make that as an agenda request, or what did you want to say about that?
As long as I'm on the line now, thank you. Yes, I would ask that the policy that's being developed be, take advantage of people who have,
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I have no philosophical objection to it, but I just want to make sure that whatever system you're using is not going to, it doesn't have malicious capabilities that will infect the rest of the town's system. So that's all. And
I want to make sure.
We'll take a look at it and be in touch with you and make sure yours is okay so that you can do it in the future. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. With that, I don't see anyone else, so I will continue. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20. Until June 30th, 2027, this meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 203-386-491#, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. First item of business is to establish a quorum. Ms. Davis.
Present.
Mr. Dykens.
Present.
Mr. Metters.
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Present.
And the chair is present. We'll go right into public announcements and agenda item requests. We don't have any minutes tonight. Are there any from the board? Mr. Metters.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to do this a touch early. Basically, I just want to give the little update on our board, committee, commission vacancies. We've done actually quite well this year. Filled up a lot of open positions, but there are certainly some opportunities for those who wish to serve the community if they so choose. So just bear with me 1 second. Cable Advisory Committee, 2 open seats. Committee for People with Disabilities, 1 open seat, 2 alternates. Conservation Commission, 1 open regular and 3 associate. Cultural Council, 1 seat. Historic Business District Commission, 1 associate. Local State Building Code Board of Appeals, 5 regular. Probably something we should maybe talk about at some point. Open Space Committee, 2 associates. Public Ceremony Committee, 1 regular. South Coastal Harbor Plan Committee, 1 regular. And Traffic Safety Committee, 1 associate. Members serve 3 years, associate and alternate serve a 1-year term. So if anyone is inclined to spend a little bit of their time helping out the town, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Any others from the board? Any from the public? Mr. Duval.
Stephen Duvall, representative from Chatham at the Monomoy School Committee meeting. Just want to give you a quick update on our superintendent search. The search committee will be presenting 3 candidates to the school committee Thursday evening. The next step was that each candidate will be here in town Monday and Tuesday. There will be candidate forums open to the community. For candidate number 1, that will be Monday, the 15th at 6 p.m. Candidate number 2 will be the 15th at 7 p.m. And candidate number 3 will be on the 16th at 6 p.m. All those forums will be in the high school at Monomoy Regional High School, in the library. And the candidates will then be interviewed by the school committee on the 17th in open meeting. So we hope that members of the community will come and meet the new candidates.
Thank you, Steve. I'm assuming that both of those school committee meetings will be telecast in
Yes.
real time?
Yes, they will be.
Great. Any questions for Steve? Thank you for bringing us this update. We look
you.
forward to getting that filled. So Steve Buckley had a agenda item request relative to AI. I think he wanted to know if we would develop a policy on that. That's what I heard him say. Is that correct, Stephen, if you're still there? Okay. Next, we have a public hearing to consider a petition from NSTAR Electric doing business as Eversource Energy to install 47 feet plus or minus of 1 to 4 inches conduit and 1 new handhold 23/HA10 on Bridge Street. And I will ask our clerk to read the public hearing notice.
Thank you. Town of Chatham Select Board Public Hearing Notice. The Chatham Select Board will hold a public hearing at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025, in the large meeting room, the Town Office Annex, 261 George Ryder Road, Chatham, Mass., and remotely via Microsoft Teams platform to consider the petition of NSTAR Electric doing business as Eversource Energy to install 47 feet plus or minus of 1 4-inch conduit and 1 new handhold 23 HA10 on Bridge Street. This construction is necessary to provide new underground service to the customer located at 322 Bridge Street, Chatham. The public is welcome to attend the meeting in person or participate via the link in the meeting's posted agenda.
Thank you. So we'll open the public hearing, and Marissa Jackson. Marissa, you're here? Here you are.
I'm here, thank you. Marissa Jackson from Eversource. I'm here to address any questions if there are any. I did speak with the Department of Public Works and informed them that we would be hydraulic drilling under the road and there would be no concern of cutting.
Great. Any questions, comments from the board? It looks very straightforward. It's a public hearing. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you, Marissa, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Next, we have a consent agenda, and there are 2 items on the consent agenda: to consider the display and sale of goods in town property and the Town of Chatham Employee Engagement Committee Art Showcase reception on February 26, 2025, at the Center for Active Living, 193 Stonehill Road. I do note, even though this is a consent agenda, that on the first item, we have the employee representative Anna Milan, in case we would like to pull and hear from her. And Mr. Tanzi is here on the second one, so probably let's pull both of them, because I have an edit on on the votes on one of them. So we'll go first with the sale of goods. Welcome, Anna.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. Thank you for your consideration. My name is Anna Milan. I'm the Programs and Communications Coordinator in the Department of Community Services at the Center for Active Living. I'm also a member of the Employee Engagement and Recognition Committee. This will be our second annual Town of Chatham Employee Art Showcase that is hosted at the Center for Active Living and organized by the Employee Engagement and Recognition Committee. Quite a few members of the community last year expressed interest and pursued purchase of the works on display at the Center for Active Living throughout the period of the show, which lasted about a month. In 2026, the event will last from January 12th to February 26th, and the committee is proposing to allow participating artists to offer their artwork for sale during the reception event on February 26th, 2026, from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. And I ask for your consideration in that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I just had an edit on the vote. I think we should add some language where we say, I move to grant permission for the sale of goods on town property at the Center for Active Living. I would insert to the participants in the to the participating artists in the Employee Engagement and Recognition Committee Art Showcase Reception. It's the artists that are selling the,
That's correct.
so that would be the language if you want to make that.
So moved.
Is there,
Second.
moved and seconded. Call the roll. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Good luck. The next is something we've had many times, the use of town roads for the Cape Cod Athletic Club, 45th Chatham Harbor Run, and 9th Chatham in the fall, 10K, and Howard Tansey is here. I braved the cold to be here, so if there's anyone that has any questions or comments, otherwise we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to grant permission to use town roads on June 28, 2026 for the Chatham Harbor Run and Team Relay, and on November 22nd, 2026 for the Chatham in the Fall 10K and Team Relay as outlined by Cape Cod Athletic Club.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We'll call the roll. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Smith. Aye. And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you. Good luck. Next, we have the monthly update on Chatham Wells, PFAS, and drinking water testing and pumping update for November. Mr. Faley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rob Faley, Director of Public Works, here to give your November monthly pumping report. Wells have been pumping on average 4 to 7 hours per day. Water tanks did not hit the low-level alarm this month. I'll scroll through some pictures as I discuss this next piece. The translucent panels have been completed. The retaining wall was constructed. Duct bank around the building has been installed. Underground power, gas, and fiber optic lines have been run. We're just waiting on Eversource and National Grid to connect to the site. Heating system has been installed. Chemical feed tanks partially installed. The room has been painted, and other trades are all ongoing. It's coming along nicely, though. Still anticipate a spring 2026 opening prior to summer. As far as the irrigation meter updates, again, kind of reiterate what we sent out, 635 letters in August. As of now, we sold over 469 irrigation meters, which is just over $93,000. 355 of those have been installed already, so we currently have 1,210 operable irrigation meters in Chatham. And now there are 54 properties that are now in a well. 39 properties completely disconnected their irrigation from the town's water supply, and there are 40 properties on the exception report. 9 properties, as of the writing of this memo, still have not, we have no response from, and they've been charged, fined over $17,000 so far. Water sampling, nothing noteworthy there. Station maintenance, third bullet down, the pre-chlorine tank at Morton Road cracked, a new one's been ordered. We did hook up a temporary tank at that location. because the new one won't be in until January. So you'll see later in the port where wells 6, 7, and 9, there's a gap where they've been out of service for a couple of weeks. You'll see that later on in your report. Well 2 was offline because of a new master meter install. That's been installed. And well 4, we discussed last month, we made those repairs to the shaft, and that's all ready to go for next spring, but it's shut down for the season as we typically do every winter. Nothing else noteworthy in the meter readings or system maintenance. And we go to the November comparison to November of last year. We were pretty close, within 1% of last year's pumping. Nothing really noteworthy there. You can see the daily fluctuations on the chart. November of last year is in the dark blue. You can see some pretty severe swings in their daily fluctuations. We're a little bit more consistent this past November. And again, here's a bar chart with that similar information. And here's the monthly pumping report per well per day, and you can see the gap on wells 6, 7, and 9, where the chlorine tank, it was cracked. We took it out of service. By the time we coordinated with the company to try to get a new one ordered, there was a gap in time there when we figured out it was back ordered. So then we were able to hook up a temporary tank just to keep it in operation. So that's why there's a gap there. And here's the bar chart with the monthly comparison. Year-to-date pumping report. We're still hovering, if we look at monthly totals this year compared to last year, around that 13 million gallons less than last year. It's been pretty consistent the last few months. It's good. It's good that we haven't closed that gap, I guess. Here's the year-to-date pumping based on the month and the activity. And here is the unmetered water usage. Again, flushing and blow-offs are typically the higher amount this month, but you can see well treatment operations have been a little bit higher this past month, and I think that was just because of the maintenance on those couple of wells that we were conducting. And here's the unmetered water usage graph. And then we go to the 5-year pumping comparison report. You'll notice in the green, 2024, the pumping hours were pretty high, 201. A lot of that had to do with Morton Road plant was offline from November 1st to November 9th. And once that came back online, all the other wells were offline from November 10th to November 30th through the rest of the month. So at the beginning of the month, all the other wells were running, but towards the second half of the month, it was only the Morton Road plant that was running. You could see in the yellow for this past November, again, it was Morton Road that was offline for a couple of weeks, and I think that drove the pumping hours a little bit higher for all the other wells. That was last year. Right, but in yellow is this past November. So it's a little bit higher. If you look back to the previous years, is 127, 124, 114, it's pretty low pumping hours, but the last 2 years is a bit of a spike, and those are the reasons why. USGS observation wells, you could see this is Chatham. We have started our seasonal recharge, which is good news. We're still a little far behind from where I'd like to be, but we're making progress. We've had some good rain recently. If we look at the Brewster observation well, it's a little bit more, I don't want to say bleak, but it's kind of hovering around that trough. It's starting to recharge, and then it's just fluctuating a little bit. So as you know, Brewster is kind of the bellwether for all of the observation wells on the Lower Cape. So we're hoping to see some improvement on this soon. And I apologize, the Massachusetts Drought Task Force only met yesterday morning, so this was not in your packet. It's just some screenshots I took during the meeting to review the conditions. So rainfall has been good in November, 3 to 5 inches on Cape Cod. Stream flow, groundwater, and evapotranspiration have all been below normal. And this is what the recommendation is to the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs to remain at level 2 for the next month. And they'll meet again in January to discuss the conditions.
Great.
Happy to
Thank you.
answer any questions.
Just a couple of comments, I guess. 10 and 11 are doing great. Wells 10 and 11, no issues.
Well, we had the PFAS spike, and we're working with Weston and Sampson to get a proposal together to look at our options.
Okay. And then the other water sampling is fine?
Yeah, no problems at all.
Super, thank you.
You're welcome.
Stuart.
Rob, on page 3, you mentioned, you highlighted the free chlorine tank crack. Just out of curiosity, it's not a very old tank, but it's
It's a pretty new tank. It's just, I don't know, it's, that nobody like bumped into it or anything.
No.
It's just, it had a crank and it had a small leak, so we had to take it out of service.
and
Was it warranted?
I think it's beyond the warranty at this point.
And the Viola staff replaced an undersized KOH. It's been undersized since they built the plant? Or did it become undersized for some other?
It's been, they've had to fill it frequently, so it's not necessarily undersized. It's been too small for our utilization.
What you're
So they
trying.
just wanted to upgrade the size so they weren't filling it so frequently.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Well, I can't imagine any other piece of data that could be conceived to require an additional chart, but this is a very, very thorough report. We appreciate getting this every month.
If you'd like me to streamline it, I'm
No,
more
I
than
think
happy
it's
to.
great. I think it's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comments on the business agenda at this time? Otherwise, you can make them contemporaneously. Seeing none online, none in the audience, we'll proceed with the first item, which is the Veterans Park restrooms availability for First Night Chatham. This was an agenda item requested by Board Member Metters, and I think Mr. Feely's going to present. Corey, did you want to say anything introductorily?
No, essentially, First Night Committee came before us, and part of their ask this year was to ask about the restroom facility. At that time, unfortunately, when we had learned about the significant vandalism that occurred to the facility, which I'm sure we'll get brought up to date on, but I guess just the question is the viability of it, and then as we get a little bit deeper into it, the work that we want to put back into the building, the work that we're going to need to put back in the building, and all that fun conversation. So I'll let Rob kind of kick it off, but thank you. Rob?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so as we know, the Veterans Park restrooms were vandalized, I think it was October 9th. And we were about to close them for the season anyway. I think we closed them a week or two prematurely. We looked at doing the repairs, but there were a couple of ADA issues. A couple of the toilets needed to be located 18 inches from the wall, so we had to do some plumbing issues. And we said, you know what, it's closed for the winter. Why rush it? Let's make sure we do it right. And then the issue came up with First Night. So that restroom, as far as I know, at least in recent history, has not been used for First Night. It doesn't have heat, it doesn't have insulation. So we usually, before the cold weather sets in, we winterize it, we drain the water, and keep it closed for the season. Doesn't mean it can't be heated and insulated. So we did get a couple of estimates. Either way, nothing will be done for First Night this year. The community center is 200 feet away. It's open for the duration of First Night. But the heat, the least expensive option is electric heat, and that would be $13,000. And then the insulation would be approximately $9,000. So tied in with the plumbing costs, the plumbing costs we were absorbing into our normal facilities maintenance budget, so that was going to be accomplished anyway. There'll be some additional costs just to get it compliant with ADA, but we're happy to pursue whatever pleases the board.
Any comments or questions? Corey?
Well, I just want to, I mean, I think it's worth a conversation. Just quick question, the restroom facilities, is that plumbed also into like the snack shack for the ball field? Is it that kind of one in, hand in hand as far as shut-offs and draining and?
I'm not sure the snack shack has any plumbing. I don't know.
I thought they
'Cause
did.
that's nothing that I think that our facilities team controls the
Okay.
shut-off
So,
for.
okay, the independent, hopefully. No, I'm just trying to understand, because obviously, figure out, clearly, we're going to need to do some work to the inside of the facility. It was quite, it was not just a little bump and bruise, it was a pretty significant vandalism, unfortunately. Does it make sense to put some upgrades into the facility? I mean, first night is a big event for us. Obviously, we draw a lot of people down to that area. Is it worth keeping that as a restroom facility or not? It's obviously a parking area that we're driving a lot of people to, so there's volume. But regardless of what we do, if we winterize it, we don't winterize it, I'm guessing we should probably look at some security components too, camera or something, because, to eliminate any vandalism in the future. So that would be an extra cost, recognized.
And we plan to pursue the cameras. We'd have a camera under the overhang and another one in the vestibule is what we had planned with our IT department.
All right, so I'm just throwing out for conversation. I think it has some value, at least to let the voters or, the taxpayers consider it. If they feel it's worth it, we could throw it into a town meeting article. If not, then so be it. But I think it's definitely worth a conversation.
Stuart?
Hey, Rob, do we know who do the police know who the vandals? No.
We don't know.
No. And I guess maybe Corey, was your vision to keep those restrooms open for the entire winter or just through the New Year's?
I'm thinking it could be operational through New Year's. I think if it's winterized, they don't necessarily have to be accessible every day, November, December, but we have the opportunity to keep them open, obviously because there's cleaning and maintenance and everything else.
Yeah.
But because we have such a large event, to improve the building, have it open a little bit later into the fall, because we are busy and there are people going to the playgrounds and whatever, shut them down appropriately during the week maybe, keep them on weekends. But after the first night activities and New Year's, I would suggest shutting them down until probably, April or whatever, May, when the spring kind of kicks in. I would not keep them open January, February, March.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's probably a good idea. So would that level, do you think, Rob, that level of renovations be necessary if we weren't going to keep them open all winter? And sorry.
No, we would just do the plumbing repairs and the ADA compliant
then maybe-
repairs, which we would kind of absorb in our facilities budget, but we would skip any kind of winterization.
Yeah, we do some sort of light heat or something, yeah.
It has the electric capacity already there. That's
Right.
why we chose that option. It would be the least expensive option.
Yeah, okay.
But you'd be doing the heat if you're going to keep it open in the late fall, right? You'd be including the heat.
Well, it depends on when we close it. We typically close it around the middle of October.
Yeah, but if you follow what the suggestion that Corey was offering, which is to keep it going till after first night.
Yeah,
Yeah, we would need to pursue
We'd need
heat
to
and
have
insulation.
heat
and insulation.
Yes.
Just because of
and
the, yeah.
insulation. So-
And the ADA issue is intriguing. Did the ADA rules change from when that building was built until now? Or was it
I
just,
think they've been in place since the Federal Register came out in, I think it was 1989.
so they were just built not to ADA codes?
I think it's the toilet is, I'm not sure if it's too close or too far away from the wall. It has to be 18 inches from the wall. And
Thank you.
That's a pretty standard dimension.
Right, thanks.
Jeff?
I'm fairly ambivalent, to be honest with you. It's not a must-have, it's a nice-to-have. The community center is right there. The community center is open all winter. Somebody can convince me that the 22K is worth spending to have it winterized for weekend use only through January 1, then 22K is kind of short money, but I'm fairly ambivalent, to be honest with you. I'm not all driven up about it.
Shireen?
Well, it's not just 22K, though, it's also operational costs that you'd have to consider. I kind of leaning no on this, but I mean, if you want to pursue it, I'm happy to go ahead and do that. I just think that, for one event, this, just getting it repaired and open for the season, I think is very doable. That's it. That's all I have. I'm kind of on
See
it.
Elaine Gibbs online. Ms. Gibbs?
Yes, thank you. My question is, was the vandalism, the damage to the toilet sinks, mirror, and other equipment, was that covered by our town insurance? Or do we have to pay for that?
We have to pay for that. It did not meet our deductible. So the damage was roughly $5,000 to $7,000.
Okay. I would agree with Corey and Stu that we need cameras. I think we have to have cameras on all of our public properties. This isn't the first time it's happened. I think it happened down on Bridge Street or something. No, the old harbor master's office. So putting a camera up after the fact is kind of not prudent. So I would hope that cameras go into all of our facilities so we don't experience this again. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? I don't hear any, so kind of had a mixed, somewhat mixed or ambivalent. I'm kind of where Jeff is and on it. Corey?
I mean, I'm not dismissing $22,000, but I think, regrettably, we're going to have to do some work to the building. I think it does make sense to probably improve the facility because I'm assuming we're going to have more first night activities, in the future. It would be a nice amenity to add up on top of the community building. Is it an absolute? Am I going to stand on a hill, waving a flag saying this absolutely has to be done? No. But I think it's got merit, and if we could put something forward, and if it, if we a standalone article for town meeting, and it's supported, and it's great. If it's not supported, then I'll lose no sleep over it. But I think it's worth a conversation. So that's kind of where I stand on it.
It's too late to get this before CPC. I mean, it's part of the recreational complex. Jill, would we do this if we were to look for funding? Would we have it as a separate warrant article?
That's an option. The other option is looking to include it under our capital, our annual capital, where we have our maintenance and, Rob, help me out here. There is a line item through our operations department and facilities for maintenance.
I asked the question because we could, throw this to town meeting and let them decide if they want to do it as a separate article. And I don't think it would take too much staff time to put the article together, and we can debate it again, and we can vote for or against it. Stuart, did you want to say something?
Well, I guess I was just going to reiterate what somebody, I guess, has already said, and that is, if we were considering it, or we somewhat ambivalent about it, this would probably be the time to do it, since it's already damaged.
Yeah.
Rob mentioned that there's electrical service there that's adequate to run, so we don't have to deal with that, so that'd be my only comment.
Well, may I suggest that we ask staff to prepare an agenda, a warrant article, and present it to us for consideration at some point, and then we can discuss it all over again.
Yeah, we'll start that review into January, beginning of February.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
If I may, Mr. Chair, should we look for possible internal funding first, or do you want to put this to the town voters at ATM?
I'm inclined to put it to the voters, but, because we can always use internal funding for other things, but that's just my thinking. Corey?
The only question I have is, it's going to need to be fixed anyway. Mechanically, what's your recommendation? Because you're going to have to start doing something now or soon at some point, so.
We'll address the plumbing issues now. We can always do the electrical and insulation at a later point.
Fair enough.
If you found internal funding, you could get the project done this year rather than wait till.
Correct.
I mean, if we want to do it, that's what we should look for funding, if we
All
really
right.
want to do it.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we modify this? And I'll suggest that you look for funding. If you find it,
Then we do it.
then
In tandem
do you want
with
it to come back to us, or do you want to just charge him to do it? If he finds,
If they can find the funding, just do it.
Do
They're
it.
doing the work there anyway, so it makes sense to
do it, and if you can't find the funding, then prepare an article
Prepare
for
an
us to
article.
consider for town meeting.
There you go, perfect.
Okay, I think there's consensus on that.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next item is to reaffirm acceptance of a donation of the U.S. Coast Guard Boathouse to house the upweller at 90 Bridge Street and to execute an updated memorandum of agreement for the donation. And Greg Berman is going to present on this, and I know we have the donor in the audience.
Yes, thank you very much. Greg Berman, your Director of Natural Resources. Very pleased to bring this updated memorandum of agreement, donation agreement to the Select Board for consideration. That means we are very, very close. This is really the last step before we can schedule moving the boathouse from Quincy and start its travels back to 90 Bridge, back to Stage Harbor. Within the agenda report, I include the information that we currently do have an expired agreement. One of the things that we've been working on was exactly what step was going to happen where. The area up in Quincy wasn't big enough to cut the floor. Really, at 90 Bridge Street wasn't appropriate for that either. New Bedford seems like the most appropriate facility to remove the floor. It does have some lead paint and creosote within that, and that facility is designed to handle that kind of material versus at 90 Bridge. Additionally, at 90 Bridge Street, if we just bring back the boathouse and put it on the pier, that means we can keep that extension pier open the entire time, even if the upweller pier is being, still worked on, so we can have a usable facility pier over on that side. Potential fiscal impacts, it's staff's understanding that the Coast Guard Boathouse is the preferred housing for the upweller. That was kind of reaffirmed at the special town meeting. That's what we've included in a lot of our grant applications. So it's our, respectful recommendation that this would be put forth, approved, allow the town manager to enact the agreement. And, if this is approved this evening, we are moving forward very quickly at this point. Within the next couple of weeks, it would probably be moved from Quincy to New Bedford. Then the next step from New Bedford to 90 Bridge Street probably wouldn't happen maybe as early as February, but at that point, they're going to be looking for a weather window that's appropriate to bring it across. So we've kind of likely going to give them until May, just to make sure they have that nice wide weather window to be able to get a flat, calm stretch across. And happy to answer any questions, and we do have the donor in the audience. If you have any questions, the donor has been very patient and helpful during all this process. It's been a long road.
Thank you, Greg. Dave, did you want to say anything, or Jack? Appreciate it. I just had one curious question. Where in Quincy has it been? At the shipyard? The old Quincy shipyard? Okay. Any questions or comments? Jeff?
So it's going to travel to New Bedford first, and the floor is going to be removed. Then I assume the window, they're going to bring it back across Buzzards Bay through the Woods Hole Gut and then up Vineyard Sound to Chatham. Is that the preferred route, I would think? That would be the only way they would get here?
Yeah,
Or-
when it left here, they went down to Elizabeth Islands and through the,
Yeah.
down that way, through the canal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't assigned the means and methods of travel.
Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be whatever the contractor believes is the safest way.
It'll be by barge, I
Yes,
assume,
yes,
obviously.
by barge.
Yeah, well, this is a fascinating project. It's a very interesting project, extremely unique and exciting. And so,
If there's no further discussion or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
move to approve.
There it is, there is the motion.
I do have a
Elaine
question.
Gibbs
got
is
it, I've got
online.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elaine Gibbs. I didn't see you, Elaine.
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple questions. According to the new contract, we will be accepting delivery in New Bedford rather than Chatham. And so are those going to be additional costs to us to move it to Chatham? And these are all interrelated because number 3 said, we will accept title as is condition and all future expenses when we accept it. So in other words, we're accepting it in New Bedford so that if anything happens in the old contract, we didn't have to accept it until it got to Chatham. Something happens in the interim, making the crossing from New Bedford to Chatham, is that on us? And my third question is, when was the last time it was inspected? It seems like I hadn't heard that. Was it 2021? Shouldn't we inspect it before we accept it in an as-is condition?
Thank you. I'll ask Greg or others to respond. I do think with respect to the legal liability, I read the agreement the same way you do, Elaine. I think once we take ownership of it in New Bedford, we're responsible for anything that happens from there on. But Greg, could you please try to respond to Elaine's questions or turn to whoever else?
Yeah, certainly. So the town would take possession and ownership in New Bedford with this agreement. We have explored an insurance policy through our insurance agent to make sure that it is covered during that transit. We're working with our...
The transit from New Bedford to Chatham?
New Bedford to Chatham, yes.
Okay.
We also have a potential change order in place from RBO that the town has requested a quote to be able to move it from New Bedford to 90 Bridge Street. We've run that through town council. In addition to the agreement, we put the change order through town council. We also have correspondence with both the engineer and the project manager indicating that this is the best way to do it at this point. There will be incurred cost with that change order, but I'm very happy to tell you that during that special town meeting, our costs are still projected to be significantly less than mentioned at that town meeting. So at the town meeting, I believe it was just over an $11 million project. Now we're closer to a $10 million project. And the overall savings to the town with grants is potentially $1 million less than we projected at that special town meeting. So even with these kind of moving parts, the increase of change order, we still don't have the procurement finished on phase 3. That's when we'll really kind of know what that final price is going to be. But, we've kept on budget and under budget this entire time, even accounting for this change order.
How about the question regarding whether an updated inspection has been done by the town?
Yes, it has. I don't have that date on me right now, but it was certainly within the last 3 months, I would say. Okay. So an updated inspection has been performed.
Is that consistent, Dave, with your knowledge? If you would like to come forward. Mr. Doherty?
Sure. He's correct. It was also inspected when it was at Cushnet Marina in Hull. People from the town went up and inspected it.
That would have been in 2019, right?
2021, I think.
Okay.
It was done there, and then at the request of the town, I had the building shrink wrapped to preserve it, so it was completely shrink wrapped. And then, as you said previously, that they went up again. They asked us to check the blocking on it, make sure it was properly done. So the team went up there, and they were satisfied with that. So everything seems to be in order, ready to put it on a barge and move it to New Bedford.
Thank you. Greg, who was part of that? Who was on the town's inspection team recently?
So that was our engineer, GEI.
Okay.
Went up and did that inspection, and I believe the subcontractor was Ty and Bond for the structural analysis.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Stuart.
So we're going to, the town's going to incur the cost from New Bedford to Chatham. Did I hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned insurance. That wouldn't be on the tow company's insurance? Or we would have to have an extra insurance on the building, even though we're contracting with somebody to move it?
We've been exploring that. It either could be with the contractor, but it could also be with the town because we're going to have a builder's risk insurance as soon as it gets to the pier. So we can just kind of blend that transport into the builder's risk. And it seemed less expensive to do it ourselves and have the contractor assume that.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Want a motion?
Yeah.
I move to accept the donation of the former U.S. Coast Guard Station Chatham Boathouse and authorize execution of an updated MOA by the town manager. Memorandum of Understanding, I should say, yeah,
Second.
of agreement, I mean.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dyken?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, 5-0. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Next is a discussion of the impacts of coastal change and consideration of a letter of support for the state dredge grant program. This was requested by three members of the Select Board, Ms. Davis, Mr. Dykens, and Mr. Smith. So Greg's here with Catherine Ricks, and before they begin, I will ask any of the board members that requested this if they would like to say anything now, or do you want to wait until the presentation?
Good.
Okay. Greg?
Great, so I'll kick it off and then tag out with Catherine, your Coastal Resilience Director, about halfway through. You know, we are thrilled to be able to provide you this evening the DNR trifecta of really trying to get some of these agenda items off of our list and bring them before you as you've
I'm
requested.
trying to get them off my list here, our list.
It weighs on me too when I see them if they're.
Yeah, we're making progress. Thanks.
So this first one is discussion of impacts of coastal change, and we would also like the Select Board to consider a letter of support for the state dredge program, which we'll include in this presentation. So very briefly, this is a very dynamic system. That's one of the things that attracted me to Chatham with a geology background. You know, just looking at these historic images back from 1938, you can see the entire Barrier Beach system has changed significantly over time. It's been a subject of scientific scrutiny for just about as long as there have been people here. It was quantified a little bit more back in 1988 by Dr. Graham Guise, and I just wanted to kind of give you a feel for how our understanding of this system has changed over that time. You know, back in 1987 was one of the breaks, and that kind of led an impetus for this study and start looking at projections of the future. So one of the future projections was 1995 to 2005, and if you just looked at the aerial in 2005, it didn't quite match, but then we had our break in 2007. So it matched pretty well at that point. Then we had an update in 2009 of the projections, and this one looked at various phases. We have an inlet development phase that we've actually been in for quite a while. It's a significant amount of time in that development phase, and when that ends, it's the Barrier Beach migration phase where where we connect to Orleans, North Beach starts migrating to the south, re-establishing that protection for the rest of Chatham Harbor. And when we're looking at these various times, 2027, that particular projection showed a breakup of North Beach Island, which really hasn't happened yet, thankfully. So there is a kind of a slow down to this overall system. And when we're looking more into the future, the idea of these barrier islands and barrier beaches rolling landward over time, they kind of, when the sediment gets shut off for that barrier island, it moves towards the land and starts to kind of curl towards the land as that sediment is removed. And here's our most recent projection. All three of these were by the Center for Coastal Studies. Our last is 2017. And we're just going to kind of increment through these various dates. The left-hand image shows a sea level rise assumption of 1 foot per 100 years. Middle is 2 feet. Over to the right is 3 feet per 100 years. And, you know, the 1 foot per century is really over the last 100 years historically. 3 feet per century is a little bit more likely under these experience. So here we are moving from 2016 to 2040. And as we progress through these, you'll kind of see each one of the Barrier Beach migrating now that we're in the migration phase. In none of these images does it show a complete breakup of the entire system. The idea is even incrementing these higher sea level rates is it just moves a bit faster, moves a bit longer. There will be some thinning of the beach over time. And then just kind of comparing this 2017 to the 2009, the understanding in the 2009 really wasn't as robust as it was now. Now the impression is that, you're not going to get a full breakup, but you will have sand moving inland. This is one of the reasons why we do what we do. A lot of dredging, a lot of monitoring, a lot of aerial photography, keeping track of how this is migrating, what phase we're in at any given point, hopefully will let us understand what's needed. And this is where I'm going to kind of step over and talk about the dredge needs in town.
So with the active and very dynamic shoreline, there's a lot of dredging that's done in the town of Chatham. And with our current permit application, we have multiple dredge sites and multiple dredge disposal areas. That includes Stage Harbor Channel, Mill Creek Channel, Aunt Lydia's Cove, Pleasant Bay Entrance Channel, and Chatham Harbor, with the disposal sites of Harding's Beach, Cockle Cove, Scattery, Turn Island, Claflin Landing, with the ability of Chatham Bars Inn to actually purchase some of the sand as well. And then when the Army Corps dredges the Stage Harbor Inlet, they actually dispose just off-site of Harding's Beach, and we have actually included that in the application this time as one of our potential dredge sites, since it's really nice sand that they dredge out of Stage Harbor Channel. So with that, I'll actually move over here. Oh, I went. Okay. So, over the last 8 fiscal years, Chatham has been awarded over $3.1 million of the EOED state grant funds. It's a 50% town match, and the town has been reimbursed over $1.2 million within that time period. So that's how much we've also put in the $1.2 million as the town. So, I'm sure this is very legible. Since 1989, these are all of the dredge projects we've kept track of, the where the dredging has occurred, where the disposal site was, and the amount that was dredged, whether it was a private contractor, the county dredge, or the Army Corps of Engineers. So within those 98 dredging projects, there was a request to look at whether the town should purchase a dredge of its own, to have the town-owned dredge. So Foth Engineering did a study a few years back for the town, and looking at it, really it was the benefit of having a town-owned dredge would have been that we don't have to worry about the county dredge schedule, because it is tough, because they do dredge all the towns on Cape Cod, the islands, and sometimes off of the Cape. So getting into their schedule is tough, but we also have to deal with the permits having time of year restrictions. So it's not even just their schedule, it's also fitting into the time of year restrictions that we have. But the drawbacks of having our own town-owned dredge would be that we would need to hire staff that would have expertise in running a dredge and working it. It would be more than one person. You'd need to hire an additional survey firm to do the pre and post dredge surveys. The staff that you would hire, you'd want to retain them over the full year and not have to hire them every year seasonally. And that would mean you'd have to find more work out of the dredge season, which is a kind of a tight season, maybe 1 or 2 months of the year that you would be dredging. And for the economic benefit, what was found in the study that Foth did was that you would need to dredge a minimum of 90,000 cubic yards annually. And over those projects that we've done since 1989, only 6 years showed amounts over 90,000 cubic yards. And some of those included the Army Corps of Engineers dredging Stage Harbor Channel. So most of the county dredge projects or private contractor projects did not get over 90,000. So it didn't show an economic benefit to having a town-owned dredge. This past spring, we were able to get a dredge project done in the Mill Creek Channel, but as you can see, it was done in March and April of 2025. So in May, it looked open. By August, it was already starting to shoal in. So it just shows the need for consistent dredging, which also shows the need that the money that has to go into the funding for all the dredge projects that we have, and crucial to that is those EOED dredge grants. The next dredge project that we have on the list is Aunt Lydia's Cove, as it's shoaled in that mooring area. We are hoping to get this done this coming winter. We had a meeting today with the Army Corps of Engineer Analyst, who is still working on getting us our permit. As of the discussion today, it is likely we'll have the proffered draft permit the first week of January, which means to have the full permit in hand by the end of January and be able to dredge it in either February or March of this year. And we will work to dredge this, and as well, we would like to dredge the area Pleasant Bay entrance channel, which is just off of Minister's Point, as the mooring area there has also started to shoal in. So this brings up the letter that we've drafted, and we'd like to request your consideration to sign the letter for the governor, because there is rumors that the state dredging grants will be discontinued after fiscal year 2027.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any comments or questions from board members? Jeff?
Well, Greg, are you going to promise us that that Outer Beach is going to be there for the next 50 years? You said it's not going anywhere.
In 50 years, if it's not there, I'll buy you a beer.
Yeah, 50 years, I don't think I'm going to be around. Fascinating. I find all this stuff to be extremely interesting, having plied the waters there for years. The only question I have about dredging is what's going on with Bucks Creek? And what kind of plans do we have? I notice it's not on the list for potential dredging along with Mill Creek, et cetera, but what are we thinking about in Bucks Creek?
So we currently are trying to get a proposal to get a study done going from Mill Creek Channel to Harding's Beach to look at Bucks Creek, because we have seen a lot of shoaling in that area. Typically, it would shoal each year. It would kind of have some shoaling, but then it would also open up and flush out. Over the last year or so, it's shoaled more into the creek and less just right at the entrance. So we do want to have that studied and then potentially look into dredging, but it also, there's a lot of habitat there, shellfish and different shorebirds. So the permitting for that will be quite difficult.
Yeah, this was one where we applied for that MVP grant to perform this study that was not funded. Now, it would have been nice to know, so we could have started earlier, but now we're planning on moving forward without that funding and doing a smaller scale project along the Nantucket Sound shoreline, looking, specifically Mill Creek to Bucks Creek at minimum, looking at, how much volume needs to be put down to maintain the beach, how much may be going into Bucks Creek, and then, if there are alternative methods of maintaining hydrologic flushing with Bucks Creek, be it dredging. Yeah. It's that kind of study that puts the impetus to add that into the dredge permit or to do additional dredge permits in the future.
Just a quick follow-up. Would the dredge permit for Bucks Creek be any more complicated than it is for Mill Creek? They're very similar, I would think, but I don't know. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, I think the hard part would be for environmental purposes, which is possible, and it hasn't been previously dredged, so it would be an improvement dredging. It's something that would be a bit of an uphill battle, but I think we could make the case that it's ecologically important. We can certainly make the case that it's important for shellfish. Over the past month, they've been hauling quahogs out of, do you remember which pond it was?
Taylor's.
Up in Taylor's. So, that's a significant, probably the most important propagation area in town. Bucks isn't being used right now because of the concerns about flushing. But, we're taking a good look at both of those. When we got that emergency extension for Mill Creek to be able to dredge as much as we did, that was one of the justifications we put on there, that we had literally millions of animals up in that system that needed that, fresh water coming in. And we were heard about that.
Just another follow-up, and then I'll be quiet, but I used to give Dr. Duncanson a bunch of grief about groins. All along now, every other town on Nantucket Sound, Harwich, Dennis, Yarmouth, all have groins. And I believe they're stealing our sand, or not allowing the sand to get to Chatham because they're groins. So I have no idea, and I defer to your wisdom, no idea on how complicated it would be to even talk about groins now in Chatham, but I'm still interested because I do believe that the sand that should naturally accrete from west to east is being, piled in Yarmouth, Dennis, and Harwich, to be honest with you. So just a comment, Greg, thanks, and thoughts.
Jeff,
Shereen.
Jeff, I think Dr. Duncanson gave us a presentation a few years ago on that and, talked about groins as a method of holding the beaches and stuff. And it was, I think the report out was dredging was probably the way, and sand replenishment was the way to go as far as costs associated with it. So, if we do talk about it, we should get that report out again, just to look at that.
Well, I think I do remember that response, and I'm asking Mr. Berman, who's new here, to see if he has any
Professional
any
difference.
Enlightenment. Mr. Berman.
I certainly have a lot of background with talking about impacts of coastal structures. A groin or a groin field, in a perfect system, it's intended to slow down the sand as it moves along the shoreline. So it builds each cell up to entrapment, and then it starts to bypass around it. So it's a combination of these, short perpendicular structures like groins and jetties that stop the along flow of sand, combined with some of the revetments that are further to the west, denying sand into the system. So we've reduced the amount of sand, and theoretically, we're just slowing down the west to east transport, but when there's not enough to overfill the cells, it effectively stops as a terminal groin. It catches all the sand, nothing moves past at that point. It's very difficult to deal with a, Nantucket Sound shoreline reduction of sand, but bypassing the jetties is a major portion of it. Mill Creek is significantly building on the one side and should be bypassed a little bit better. That's one of the things that we're also working on right now, is trying to enhance that Mill Creek dredging and jetty system. The thing that's probably slowing us down the most right now is determining ownership and permitting of that jetty. We've been working with the Army Corps and consultants, but that's a tricky first step, sadly. But yeah, the bypassing of the jetties is very important. And then, the groin fields aren't acting to slow things down anymore. It's pretty much stopping the flow entirely along there.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. I do. Thank you.
I thought also when Dr. Duncanson gave his report that he said one of the complications was the permitting process in putting these jetties, putting these groins in.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to permit groins and jetties these days. There have been a couple permitted in the last 10 years that are theoretically adjustable or temporary. You might think of the ones out in Senjikitaket on the Vineyard that are made of wood and theoretically can have portions of it removed, but when they get installed, they don't get touched. Regulatory agencies are very hesitant to put these on the beach. And yeah, it would be a significant struggle. And even if you do get them, trying to keep them connected can be an issue too. There's a lot of Nantucket Sound jetties and groins out there that you start getting erosion on the upland side, and you can, I'm not going to be able to name the exact water body, but kind of over by Barnstable, if you look at an aerial photograph, there's linear rocks, hundreds of feet offshore, because the shoreline moved out and the jetty stayed there, and they're just offshore now. So trying to maintain the shoreline where it is a difficult task, and we're shoveling sand at it as best we can.
Shereen.
I just wanted to speak to the letter a little bit. I think the letter's good. I think there should be a little bit more data in there. I mean, the fact that since 1989, we've had 98 dredging projects. I think we need to identify to the state that we have a significant dredging a program in this, and how much, and even that cost associated, the 3.18 million and 50%, has been from the grants. Has, I think is really an important piece to put in there. Any of the other towns like Harwich, are they looking at any dredging programs, Harwich or Dennis? I mean, are you aware that they're they have any significant dredging programs at all, Catherine?
Yes, so most of the towns on the Cape do dredge, which is why with the county dredge, it's difficult to schedule. They have 2 dredges now at the county. They're also looking into purchasing a smaller dredge that can actually travel by land instead of having to travel through the water, so it's smaller, but it'll be able to do the smaller projects when the other 2 dredges are doing the larger projects. Pompanesett just finished a major dredge project. I don't remember the volume, but almost every town uses the county dredge. They also sometimes go off Cape to do projects as well. I would say Harwich most regularly does their inlets and harbors. And right now, I believe we are scheduled behind projects in Yarmouth. And I'm trying to think of who else has it scheduled right now, but I don't have, but yes, almost most towns around here.
Well, my point is that if we're going to have a letter, we should be doing a Cape letter. Maybe this is something Cape and Islands municipal leaders could talk, discuss.
And with that, actually, so Barnstable County Dredge did send a letter from themselves, and they asked the advisory committee to send letters of their own. Our harbor master sent a letter, but I don't know if an additional Cape and Islands committee sent a letter, but there are multiple letters that they're trying to get out.
The Dredge Advisory Committee reached out to every town individually, encouraging the harbor masters and/or any, elected bodies, town managers, to send letters of support for the dredge program.
All right.
Shireen, are you
Being covered.
suggesting that we would send our own letter, but also that maybe Kimla would
Yeah,
consider a letter?
I mean, Mark is the president of the organization, also the commissioners, county commissioners, and he's been talking about this quite a bit too. So just a question of bringing it up tomorrow to see if, the status of whether we have already or whether we should as a group. And then I think we need some follow-up, just putting, not just a letter, but follow-up to Senator Sear and Rep. Luddy, and also EOED, just put some pressure on them.
Did you want to offer a motion to approve this letter with the additional language that you
Yes,
talked?
I move approval that we sign, that we have staff take it back and make the adjusted changes, and that we sign this letter.
Okay, so it wouldn't have to come back to us.
Right.
Stuart, you wanted to say something?
Well, I'll second that. And, yeah, I just had a couple of questions, I guess. The Foth report on the purchasing our own dredge, something that I'm not endorsing at the moment, but I'm curious, given the significant increases in dredging costs associated with the county program and private dredge companies, I wonder if those numbers would change, the cost numbers. It's maybe everything's relative, but we're going to be faced. But what I read is there's going to be a lot of scrutiny over these funds, not only at the state level, if not cutting them, but at the federal level. And whether that may change the dynamic on a dredge, making it, a little bit more readily available to us. I understand we only dredge a few months. That's not due to the lack of need. It's due to the cumbersome, redundant permitting process. So I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I think it's all relative, unfortunately, and having to have, when it comes to employing someone that has that expertise, you'd want at least 2 employees that have the expertise of running a dredge, which is difficult to find, and then being able to have all the survey done. So when the county dredge comes in, they have the expertise and the scheduling and understand the permits and do the dredging. They also do the pre and post surveys. They also have the equipment on the beach so that when it's disposed on the beach, they are able to move the sand around. So I believe all those costs are additional costs that you'd have to look into as well.
Right.
And the maintenance on a dredge.
Yeah.
And the storage of a dredge.
Given some of your charts you had up here, of course, I'm familiar with them, and the Geis reports, but dredging is not going to become less of an issue. It's an ongoing problem. So just food for thought. The other thing, the Bucks Creek dredging, well, we don't have dredging in Bucks Creek, but if we're thinking about that, that is improvement dredging, as you mentioned, Greg. Has the CMR changed, do you know, on that, where it's not permitted? Improvement dredging in Massachusetts was not permitted. We got an exemption or some sort of an exemption for Minister's Point area, but I think that prohibition still exists elsewhere.
For ACECs.
Yeah, and so Bucks Creek is not an ACEC, so theoretically, we'd be able to do that.
Yep, so it's an uphill battle, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
a lost cause.
Oh, no, well, yeah, good luck on that permitting. That'll be your retirement job. So the last thing is, the county bought a second dredge. They had a struggle finding, to your point, Catherine, crews qualified to run it, not only run it, but run it simultaneous to the first dredge. But as you correctly point out, it's the permitting that all of these communities struggle with, and the Army Corps being the most challenging. I'm wondering whether or not, we chatted about this some years ago, the county dredge group made up of the different representatives, mainly harbor masters, I think. Have you ever considered proposing that the county take on this permitting for all of these community on the Cape? We have a somewhat different shoreline and issue than a lot of the communities in Massachusetts. I mean, they didn't buy their own hydraulic dredge because, a lot of it's rock. So it just seems to me that they would have, collectively, that they would have a little bit more maybe influence or horsepower to coordinate the permitting on a more cohesive basis, as opposed to 15 individual, maybe not all 15 use a dredge, but a lot of communities vying for the same dredge and vying for time frames. They're doing the dredging. It seems to me they should inherit, or we should at least look at the county inheriting the permitting of these projects.
Were you at that meeting?
Oh.
I think that was about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes, I was at that meeting.
But the Cape Cod Commission was actually trying to work with the county dredge program to see if they could explore a way to regionally handle the permitting and scheduling, and thought they would have a louder voice about the time of year restrictions and all those
Right.
things. I don't think it came to pass, certainly not at that time, but that could be something that we bring up with them again.
Yeah, it's something that I think would be useful to bring up with either the county commissioner, county government, or the Cape Cod Commission. I don't know which. I'm not sure.
Cape Cod Commission was exploring that at the time.
Yeah, it just seems like that would be a worthwhile endeavor to at least look into it, because I can't think of a town on Cape Cod that wouldn't be very enthusiastically giving up the permitting responsibility to an extent. We'd still be involved, but we'd have a much more centralized approach to this, similar to the construction, the dredge people dredging the harbors. And then I will thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion, and it's been seconded. And unless there's additional discussion, I'll call the roll. This is on the letter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I did have one comment.
Yeah.
Should have reminded me on the letter. So, great letter, by the way. The only suggestion I would give is you certainly reference in the letter the public safety aspect of the importance of dredging. You may want to capitalize on that a little bit more and use the Coast Guard as one of the reasons we're dredging. that was always handy and influential in the past. They seem to take notice to that, and other than that, I think it's great.
Appreciate that. I can't say for sure. I think our harbor master included that in his letter, but, it could certainly be added to this one, too.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Well, we'll make that an amendment to the motion.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll call the roll. Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Dykens?
Aye.
Mr. Metters?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And next item is a discussion of public access to waterways. This was requested by board members Metters, Dykens, and Davis. And I guess it's the same team up there. And I know we
Sorry,
have the
one more.
chair of the Waterways Committee. Mr. Hosmer is in the audience if he cares to talk as well. So I'll ask the same question. Does the board want to hear from the staff first? Okay, we'll do that. Go ahead.
Catherine Ricks, the Coastal Resilience Director, and with Greg, Director of Natural Resources. So, discussion of public access to waterways. Sears Road Landing is one of the landings that didn't have a lot of parking, and the parking used to be all just not marked parallel by the roadside. So we worked with DPW and put in, probably in the spring, put in these 4 angled spots where there used to be just 2 parallel spots. It's held up really well. These are composite markings that are anchored into some sand, so it's a natural sand that if it does get washed out, it's just washing out into where it would already be. Haven't had to have any maintenance yet. We're gonna look at it in the spring after the winter storm, see if we need more maintenance, but so far it's held up really well. There will additionally be a upcoming stormwater project, but that will not impact, or is not likely to impact these 4 spots. So these are more angled spots. People can still use the parallel spots from that once these 4 are taken.
Where is the guardrail that was placed in relation to those spots?
Across the road.
Yeah,
Can you see it there?
on the private property on the opposite side of the road.
Is it there? Okay. And when were those spaces put in? This summer?
I want to say it's spring. I want to say right about when I started, April, May.
And how did it work out in terms of,
Really gone well. I've gone out and checked on them within the last month or 2, and there's not much maintenance needed on it right now. Maybe a couple shovelfuls of sand we could put in right now, but
in terms of the ability to park?
so now there's, and I've seen a few people parking down there, so now we have those 4 spots where there used to just be 2, and I have seen people use those.
Okay,
We've gotten some very positive comments just when we've been down at the site. That
good.
People have appreciated it.
Yeah, no, I've used them, and they're great. You did a great job.
very good.
So Battlefield Landing is also one of the areas we've had some stormwater issues. Previously, there have been some stone trenches put in. As you drive down, you can see it's still continued to have some stormwater runoff that would scour right next to the stairs there. So within, just at the beginning of the summer, we had DPW put in a U-trench. You can see right there in the parking area filled with stone. And since then, we really haven't seen any scour, very minimal scour at the stairs there. So we haven't had to go down and keep filling it in after storms. So it's handled a lot of it. And with that, actually, I don't have pictures right now, but we've also done at Fisherman's Landing to Goose Pond. Recently, we had someone kind of mention that the stormwater was running off and scouring all the beach and all running right into the pond. And we worked with DPW to put a couple more of these stone trenches in on your way down Fisherman's Landing, and it has reduced the runoff right into the pond. The regulations have been around for a while to have people remove their skiffs, dinghies, kayaks, any personal watercraft that sits at the landings throughout the summer, spring, fall. The regulations had been said that you have to remove it November, I believe, 30th. November 30th to April 1st, you're not supposed to have any at the landings. It's supposed to be cleared off. We put out additional signs this year letting people know that if they are left there inactive after November 30th, we will be removing them or you will be fined. So that is now going to be scheduled. Harbor Master's office is going to start going out there and removing any of the dinghies, skiffs, kayaks that are left out there. And as an example, here are some of the town landings, Water Street West, Cow Yard, and some others, where multiple ones are left, and they're just left on the beach or up on the marsh in the resource areas. So when we remove them, or when the Harbor Master's Office removes them over this winter, they will also be working with me, and I will be working with Conservation to permit and install new racks and new rails in order to kind of clean up and give more areas for people to store their personal watercraft right at the town landings. And hopefully that will improve the resource areas and improve our town landings.
When they are removed, where are they taken to? Stuart, you might want to.
I would say the majority of the ones that are left there have large holes in them.
Yeah, they went to the treatment plant.
Okay.
Into Maine, somebody bought hundreds of them.
So Harbor Master will be cleaning up, any of the illegally placed dinghies, skiffs, and kayaks on town landings, on public property, not on private property. And if they're unable to contact the owner, like there's not information on there, it'll probably be taken to the wastewater treatment facility for storage. And then, when people come back in spring and don't find them, we'll start getting calls.
Jeff.
Catherine, I'm glad you mentioned racks, because I don't know who decides how many racks go and where, but I just noticed down at Riders Cove Landing the other day when I pulled my boat out there was a nice rack there. I didn't use it. I brought my skiff home, but racks are a good idea, well-placed near a landing, and I think it would clean up the shoreline to a fairly well if we kind of supported their inception, development, and placement.
Yeah.
You guys make those decisions, the Harbor Master's Office, or?
So we're going to work with Harbor Master's
Okay.
Office and Conservation to be able to
Good.
put more of those racks out. The racks over at Riders Cove typically are full,
Yeah.
and there's still some left on the beach. So we're going to try at Riders to look at other areas or another way to create more storage there, because there's definitely a lot of need for storage there.
I think it's a really good idea, and I think we ought to pursue it. Thanks.
Stuart?
The other, I'm sure you're working with Parks and Rec, because they have a similar regulation for the beaches.
We have a meeting this week, or no, that's next.
It might be next week, but
Either this week or next week for all of the departments to get together to get our regulations all aligned on there, because their regulations aren't exactly the same
Right.
as the waterways ones. So yes, we are working towards having all the regulations the same.
And one thing, and I'm sure it's come up at meetings, but for you folks, if it hasn't, and the public, years ago, we instituted a common launch at Little Mill Pond. And, this problem is similar to the dredging. This isn't going away, and it's a struggle to kind of make it work. But there are some remaining locations that, it would take a change in, the mindset maybe in the public to get used to it. But everyone having their own dinghy or pram is hugely problematic with such limited public space, and the buying up of these coastal properties, the new folks don't tend to like them. So a common launch might be something and encouraging, Mr. Hosmer, but encouraging private businesses like the marinas and boatyards to expand their launch services. Maybe there's some, help that we can provide in some way, but the racks are nice, but it would be nicer and more organized if they just weren't there. But we still had an ability for people to get to their boats.
definitely like that mentality. That's kind of where we're going with the racks and rails, trying to provide a carrot instead of a stick of a regulation. We want it to be attractive and easy for people to do the right thing and take things off the resource and clean up. So if there was a, very easy shuttle that was affordable and convenient, I would imagine people would use that too. It's just,
Yeah, I would think so. In some communities down in southeastern Massachusetts, the harbor master has taken on some of that responsibility. The issue here is we got 30 town landings and, harbors all over the place, as opposed to their more confined environment that they have to deal with. So it just works a little easier. Thank you.
Okay, Dick, did you have anything you wanted to add to this, Mr. Hosmer? Okay, Jeff?
We were undertaking a formal survey of all the town landings. I just wonder where that is, where we are in terms of progress. I know that kind of the parking at the cow yard issue a couple of years ago prompted the need to really survey every one of our town landings to know what the town owns and what kind of access the public does have to all our landings. I just wonder where we are.
Yep, so that draft survey was brought to all the waterway committees, and the information was provided in executive session because, you know, there were potentially discussions about eminent domain or other methods that, you know, warranted an executive session. After taking it to the various waterways committees, we summarized that information. We brought the chairs of the committees together and synthesized that. So we do kind of have a working list going through each and every town landing, what can and can't be done. And so, you know, some of the things that came up were as simple as trying to clean up the kayaks. Some of the other ones, you know, we're looking over by Port Fortune to see if we can, you know, make a more robust stair system, you know, in a better spot. And so, you know, that might be something that if the board would like an executive session, we could, you know, bring the entire survey and talk about each one. But the committees have, I believe, you know, been vested in our planning system, and we keep them apprised as we move forward.
Good, thank you. It sounds like you're making good progress.
Shireen?
Thanks, Dean. One of the things, and this is just a comment, I think that I had had some concerns about, and I'm not sure if the harbor master's working on this or not, but it was Old Mill Boatyard and the relationship with Stage Harbor Yacht Club next door, and the onus of parking and access for the public when there's a regatta or classes, or whether the yacht club itself is doing any pickup or drop-off protocol that would take stress off of our public parking down there. And I'm not sure if we can get a status report or start a conversation with that, unless you have something you can share.
Yep, so the concern was noted in early spring. In fact, some of the waterway committees brought that to our attention as well. The harbor master and myself sat down with the staff of the yacht club, and by all reports, you know, they've been much better this year. The town landing, you know, directly adjacent to the harbor master workshop area, that's intended for town landings, not for employee parking or to service the yacht club or other businesses around there. Apparently, things have been much better. It hasn't been overloaded, but if people notice and there are concerns, we could start that conversation again. But it was brought up at the beginning of the season.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we've completed this particular item at this time. Thank you
Great
very
update.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Final item on the agenda is to consider Select Board 2025 December holidays for town employees. This was requested by Board Member Smith. Before I turn to you, Stuart, I neglected to mention something during the public announcement section. I'd like us to talk about this during this agenda item, whether the Select Board would want to have a meeting on the 30th of December, and we can explain the issue behind that with the town manager when we get to that. But I'll turn to you, Stuart, first on the employee holiday.
Sure, thank you, Dean. You know, I sent a memo and to the select board, and town manager has followed up with that. I figured I'd just read the memo so
Sure.
the public would. As we approach the holiday season, I would like to request that the select board join our neighbors in the town of Harwich and declare the following dates as select board holidays, treated as a declared holiday for staff at the town office and the annex, DPW, transfer station, weather permitting, and other administrative staff at various locales within town government. This would apply to the harbor master and shellfish personnel as well, while maintaining appropriate recall status for those functions. The following dates would apply to the select board staff holiday declaration: Wednesday, December 24th, would be a half a day, closing at noon. Friday, December 26th would be a full-day closure. And Wednesday, December 31st, half-day, New Year's Eve, closing at 12 noon. It should be noted that the Town of Harwich Select Board voted to close on Friday, January 2nd, in addition to the above times and dates, due to the fact that both Friday, December 26th, and Friday, January 2nd fall on fall after declared holidays for the first time in 11 years. Reasons for these closures include energy savings for town buildings during this low customer traffic days, and most importantly, employee well-being and extending the holiday break further employees' morale, good health, and enhancement of a positive, motivated, and productive workforce. And I look forward to hopefully getting the support of the Select Board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion of Stuart's recommendation? Jill?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the staff report that I provided gets into some of the mechanics of each collective bargaining agreement, what their holiday section is or item is for the number of holidays. And in Chatham, we don't have select board holidays designated in our collective bargaining agreements, as does Harwich, but it doesn't preclude the board from actually taking action. So it's just something that we do negotiate. So when we looked at it, I talked a little bit about each unit. We asked the relative department heads to provide us what they thought would be the fiscal impact of the closure. And I think that it's more apparent with public safety, police and fire, because they get paid holidays. And so I asked Chief Tavano to actually cost it out, and and with Chief Anderson. And so it's about $27,000 for police and fire employees of additional pay for those closures. So, and then the transfer station, presuming that it is closed, it doesn't necessarily have a fiscal impact. It will require some additional staffing on Saturday after Christmas, so which is fine. And regardless, even if the transfer station were to stay open, we're down 3 employees right now due to some injuries, and so we'd have to bring in someone from the highway department, whoever would volunteer to be available that day to work. So I don't have any issue with it. I agree our employees are very hardworking, and I would support this if the board's so inclined.
Jill, do we know what the total, and I support this, but what's the total fiscal impact among all employees? We know it's $27,000 for police and fire. Do we roughly know what it might be?
I wasn't able to capture that yet. The collective bargaining agreements, and Rob Faley, our director of DPW, is here. In our last contract with CMEA, which is the union that recognizes the DPW as well as all town employees that are not public safety, they get paid, so it's not like they take an extra day off. So it ends up probably double time or 2.5 times their rate for the holidays for the closure, so that 2 half-days and the full day.
And you indicate that because this is not currently in the agreements, you would probably have a side letter agreement with all the unions.
Yes,
to
and
accommodate this.
I would specify this applies to 2025. If the board wants to take action at any other time, we could do that, but their collective bargaining agreements list the specific holidays, and then with the fire agreement, they actually get any additional holiday that is negotiated by another unit.
What is the pleasure of the board? Corey?
I'm beyond supportive of our staff. We have a lot of hardworking individuals who run this community in our various departments, inside, outside, you name it. And it's the holiday season, and I have no issue with granting this or recommending it at all.
Thank you. Jeff?
Same here, ditto. It's well-deserved. It's cool to have it. I'll have half a day Wednesday, then Thursday, Friday. The transfer station will be open Saturday, though, Saturday and Sunday, so, because it'll be, especially with those folks that have young kids and have tons of stuff. But anyway,
So they can bring
We can
the
get there,
Christmas,
we
the
can get the
Christmas
Christmas
wrapping.
stuff there on Saturday, all the wrapping paper stuff. Anyway, I'm fully supportive. Yes.
Okay. Any other comments? Shireen?
Yeah, I'm about quality of life when it comes to wellness of our community and for employees and things, and I'm fine, and this is an anomaly, so if we can take it, if it can be taken advantage of, we should do it. I just don't think I'm going to hit the transfer station on Saturday. I think that what we need to do is make sure that the public understands that that will not be open the day after Christmas.
Yeah. Yes, we'll have to make sure we get this in the main sheet and
Yes, and there's plenty of time to do that as well.
Okay.
maybe in the Chronicle if that's possible.
If it's, if Rob, hate to give it to Rob, but could we somehow, or the town notify the haulers so they just don't have to read it somewhere?
Yes, most definitely. We can get that out tomorrow.
Thank
We
you.
can actually, there's the reader board too, at the transfer station that we can employ to, or deploy, I should say, to note that closure.
Perfect.
Well, I'm in agreement also. So is there a motion, Stuart, did you want to make a motion?
Yeah, sure. The motion would be to approve the 2025 holiday schedule as follows. As I mentioned earlier, Wednesday, December 24th, half a day, closing at noon. Friday, December 26th, full-day closure. And Wednesday, December 31st, half-day for New Year's Eve, closing at noontime.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart, for bringing this forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill, for supporting it. So the last thing I wanted to put on the table, and Jill and I communicated about this today, was does the board want to have a meeting as scheduled currently on December 30th? And Jill, do you want to explain the concern here
Sure.
in terms of being able to prep for that meeting?
Yes, so with some members of our leadership team having planned vacations, and with the new holiday schedule, in order to get the reports and everything done and ready for the meeting on the 30th, we have to have it posted by noon on December 23rd. And so right now, the only thing on that's programmed is the town manager's report, which we can certainly move up or back. And the only thing else I wanted to check with was select board members, Metters. I wasn't sure if you were remote or you're not able to attend.
On the 30th, because of the lovely schedules of JetBlue, I will probably be in the air at that moment.
Okay.
So, no.
And if for some reason we needed to call a special meeting, we would certainly call it. But at this time, I would recommend that the board decide not to have it or cancel it, however you want to move forward.
Fully supportive of doing that.
I'm inclined to support it, too.
I am too.
All right, so I don't think we need to take a vote. We will not have a meeting. Stuart, did you okay with that?
That's fine.
We will not have a meeting on December 30th. The next meeting after that will be January 6th, I believe.
Yes.
And our last meeting of the year will be December 23rd, and we certainly have a busy agenda for both next week and the week after. All right,
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
is there a second? I'll second it.
I was looking at the clock, sorry.
I'll call the roll. Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Dykens.
Aye.
Mr. Metters.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Chair votes yes, and it is 7:16 PM. Good night, Chatham.